studio, sitting in for Laura Ingraham on this special edition of the Ingraham Angle. Live from New York City tonight, President Trump is doubling down on conflict and continuity in the final weeks of 2018, laying down the gauntlet over border enforcement. We'll explore his unprecedented feud with Chief Justice John Roberts and why Mr. Trump may have good reason to be upset with the politicized courts. Plus, God is coming up short with Americans this year. We'll examine a new survey that reveals they are finding meaning in other places, some good and others, well. And I hit the streets on this Black Friday to see how confident Americans are as we enter the biggest buying season of the year. Then, in an exclusive Ingraham Angle exclusive, Mike Lindell, the MyPillow guy, is here to explain why he's not letting critics scare him from his passion projects, including a new movie, which he'll tell us about tonight. But first, the crisis at the border is getting worse by the day as thousands of illegal immigrants gather in Tijuana, Mexico, planning their next move, which, according to reports, includes a possible human stampede. This as police arrest nearly 36 migrants on drug and drunkenness charges. The Tijuana mayor says his town is in the throes of a humanitarian crisis. He declared, quote, they have categorically omitted and not complied with their legal obligations. So we're now asking international and humanitarian aid groups to come in and carry out humanitarian assistance. At the same time, a group of about 150 migrants from that massive caravan stormed the border, waving a white flag and demanding better conditions, claiming they don't have adequate food and housing. I think they're forgetting they're the ones who chose to make the illegal journey, but never mind that. Tijuana continues to struggle to accommodate the estimated 5,000 migrants, spending roughly $30,000 a day to house and care for them. But President Trump is not mincing words about what will happen if that caravan comes to the U.S., threatening to close the border completely. Listen.
If we find that it's uncontrollable, Josh, if we find that it gets to a level where we are going to lose control or where people are going to start getting hurt, we will close entry into the country for a period of time until we can get it under control.
For the entire border?
The whole border. I mean, the whole border.
The strong stance comes just days after what was described as a fiery meeting in the West Wing. That meeting resulted in the White House authorizing thousands of troops at the U.S. border, giving them the ability to use force if necessary to protect border agents. That would allow Secretary of State James Mattis to order those thousands of troops to do just that, protect border agents. The Department of Homeland Security says there are 500 known criminals in that caravan, 500, headed to the U.S. At least that's what they know of at this moment. The Mexican ambassador to the U.S., Jeronimo Gutierrez, is also concerned about violence, telling the Washington Examiner, quote, we share the opinion that there are people that have criminal backgrounds. Yet the media is still trying to downplay the threat.
There's no evidence. No one in these caravans has suggested that there'll be some sort of attack or any of that sort of thing. This is sort of the president's continued bluster on this one.
There's no indication that anyone is funded by a terrorist group or is really coming in with some sort of plan to cause harm against the United States.
I, as a national security official, would want to focus on the actual threats and not these invented threats of caravans that are 1,000 miles away.
Joining me now is Brandon Judd. He is the president of the National Border Patrol Union. Mark Kerkorian, executive director of the Center for Immigration Studies, and Saman Nasseri, an immigration attorney and activist. Brandon, I want to start with you. You were part of that White House meeting that ended with the authorization of force along the border. Is this all an invented threat at the border, in your estimation, as many in the media are now saying?
No, absolutely not. All you have to do is look at the number of people that are gathering in Tijuana that are waiting to come across the border, and these threats that they're going to storm our ports of entry are it's an obvious sign that they do not care about our laws, that they're going to do what they need to do for their own benefit instead of doing it in a legal manner. Again, if you look, when I was in that meeting, what I saw an unwavering determination to secure the borders for the American public, for the safety of the American public. And we appreciate that, and we appreciate that determination that the president has.
Saman, your reaction. I mean, look, this is the head of the border union. He knows what's going on there, given what his members are feeding back to him. Your reaction.
And I think the conversation shouldn't be so much about the caravan, but I think the caravan sheds light more on the fact that our immigration system is truly broken. The fact that this is what's considered a real threat is 5,000 people coming to the border seeking asylum. Why is that? Why are they the issue? Why isn't the system the issue? Because these people haven't stampeded. They haven't rushed the border. They're not carrying weapons with them. No one has seen them try to hurt anybody. So why are we making the people escaping their problems the issue? Why aren't we trying to criticize the actual immigration system and fix that problem?
Well, let's hold it there a minute, Saman. I mean, there are abuses of the asylum system going on. Asylum is when you're under persecution, not just because I'd like a better job in a nicer neighborhood, right? Mark Krikorian, your reaction.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, I'd say that the broader system is the problem. And the system is we have asylum rules that incentivize people to make these bogus asylum claims, to essentially use asylum as a strategy for illegal immigration. Because none of these people has any realistic expectation of actually getting political asylum at the end of the day. They're doing this to apply for asylum as a way of getting past the border, and then they're home free. This has been going on since the Obama administration really kind of incentivized it, and we're still dealing with the fallout from it. That's why we have this caravan, and that's why there are other caravans behind them that are trying to do the same thing.
I want to roll this tape. This is Kirstjen Nielsen, the Homeland Security Chief along the border. Listen.
The reality is that there are currently over 6,200 individuals camped out south of the U.S. border in Tijuana today as I stand here. In Mexicali, there are more than 3,000 caravan members. These two groups, combined with other caravans making their way through the Northern Triangle in Mexico, will result in approximately 8,000 to 10,000 migrants amassing along our southern border. The crisis is real, and it is just on the other side of this wall.
Your reaction. I want to go to Brandon Judd.
Well, again, if you look at this, this is not about legal immigration. This is about illegal immigration. If those people are not, they're not going to wait until they go through the ports of entry. They're going to cross the border illegally. And the first act that they're going to make when they come to the United States is an illegal act. That should make everybody a little bit concerned about what the motives are.
What about the criminal element here that's being reported? They claim they have 500 criminals as part of these caravans. Saman, does that mean nothing to you? We should just open up, let these people in, let them come in under the asylum laws?
No, and I think that's the wrong characterization of the argument. And I don't think these people aren't coming to the port of entry and crossing illegally.
It's not a characterization, Saman. It's not a characterization at all.
It is. It's a characterization
because
there's
Homeland
no proof.
Security
There's no
is telling
evidence
us
of that
right now. This is what they're saying.
There's no evidence of that.
Oh, so
and Department of
Kirstjen
Homeland
Nielsen is
Security's
lying?
issued a memo. No, the Department of Homeland Security's already issued a memo saying, hey, we need to work with Mexico to try to vet these people in Mexico, keep them in Mexico, go through the asylum process there, and then take it on a case-by-case basis and see who qualifies, see who doesn't, and pass them through the port of entry. There's absolutely no evidence or no proof that these guys are going to show up to the port of entry, bum rush the border, and run through and become quote-unquote illegal immigrants. They're coming to the border seeking asylum. And it's unfair to say that all of them don't have a plausible case, because some of them really do probably have a very plausible case. And unfortunately, they get washed up with the ones that are just coming here because they want a better job. But the truth is, there are a handful of them, a good few dozen, I would say even a few hundred of them that have a good case, that are living in bad conditions, that have seen people get murdered, that have had family members get murdered. I see them. I turn away dozens of people from my office who I say, I can't help, you don't have a good case. But every once in a while, someone in this situation comes in and has a good case.
There's no doubt the asylum laws need to be revisited, but perhaps we've not been looking at them in the right way. And I think, we can't just have my father waited a year in line before he even had his papers recognized. Then he came into the country with a sponsor. Then he served in the military before becoming a citizen. There has to be an orderly process. Thank you, gentlemen, all for your contributions. Here now to explore whether the president has the constitutional authority to use U.S. troops to protect the border and on American soil, the border agents. We're joined by Donald Bramer. He's a former intelligence officer, an Iraq veteran, and Joel Rubin, former Obama Deputy Secretary of State. Joel, I want to start with you. You believe the president was wrong to send the troops to the border because of the unclear mission. But isn't protecting the southern border and enforcing standing immigration laws mission enough?
Well, Ray, there is no mission. There's no military mission here. There's no clarity about the end point, what the objectives will be for these soldiers. And really, even if there's a technical ability of the president to send the troops there, it's a bad judgment. And this president has a habit of using our troops as political props, and that was the intent for this prior to the midterm elections, to turn out the vote. And really, these troops are doing nothing there. They're sitting, they're waiting, they're doing support. We have civilian enforcement that can do the job. We don't need to have our troops at the border.
Donald, are you concerned about this so-called human stampede that has been threatened? Is that a reality? And is that similar to what we saw in the summer when the border was under such pressure?
Well, this stampede, if you will, is a very real reality. And a lot of these folks that are coming to our border are known criminals. And we've already found cases of weapons among them. And you know, even in Tijuana, they're talking about disorderly conduct, drunkenness. These are not the type of people that we want in the United States. You know, I applaud the president. Maybe all of his tactics aren't always the best, but we have a right to protect our borders.
Donald, I want to play something for you. And Joel, this is Senator Kamala Harris. She said this the other day. I want to get your reaction.
These folks who are being deployed there, they're going to leave. They've left their families. They will not be home, looks like, for Thanksgiving. And all because there needed to be some demonstration for the TV cameras based on a political agenda instead of what is a national security threat.
Donald, does the president have the authority to deploy troops in this way? There is that act, that Pace Comitatus Act, that forbids using the military to enforce domestic law. Does that apply here?
Well, these soldiers and forces, they're not law enforcement officials, but he does have the right to deploy them because it is his right as commander-in-chief to support this country, whether it's in humanitarian aid or supporting our borders. And this is something that's been precedent before. President Nixon did it, President Reagan did it, President Bush did it, and President Obama did it. It's been done before. It's his right, and he has to protect this country.
Joel, your reaction?
Well, I really believe that we could find the $100 million that we spent on sending the troops there, better uses for that money. We could be sending it to the countries to help stabilize them so people don't leave.
You don't believe there's a national security threat, Joel?
I believe that our civilian agents from DHS are capable of handling this, and I don't believe that we need to have troops at the border now being authorized to shoot at a caravan of individuals who, there are some unruly ones, but by and large, the overwhelming majority are women and children waiting in camps to go through an asylum process.
Well, it's not all women and children, or you wouldn't have the 34 arrests, coke possession. No, you've got people with coke possession. They're carrying weapons. They're being arrested now by the Tijuana government.
And the civilian police can handle that as they should. And the orderly process, or the process that is in place, is working, and it should work. We don't need to have military troops there to enforce the process that is already being executed properly.
Donald, your thoughts? Do we need those troops or not? Or is Trump just playing fast and loose here?
No, I do think we need the troops. Right now, CBP is 80% undermanned right now. And if only for a short period, if these troops can support them to do the logistic things so that the CBP officers can do their job, then that's important. If they're observing and they're providing support, then let them do their jobs so that CBP can actually perform what they're hired to do.
Gentlemen, I'll give each of you a shot at this. Should the president close the border down? Does he have the authority to do so? Donald, you first, then Joel, very quickly, 10 seconds each.
Whether or not he should or should not, that remains a question as we look forward to the caravan as it moves forward. Does he have the authority? Absolutely. It's his right to defend this country, to defend our borders, and to protect the United States citizens.
Yeah, Joel, if he believes there is a national security threat, clearly he can close down the border.
National security threat should always be dealt with, but it's an American value to allow people seeking asylum to come here to this country. We need to keep that border open for those people.
Well, we let 1 million people in a year as citizens. I think that shows the welcoming spirit of America. Thank you, gentlemen. President Trump's spat with the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals intensifies as he renews his claim of bias And he's taking some heat from within his own circle. The story. Next, stay there.
Ninth Circuit, everybody knows it. It's totally out of control. And what they're doing, what they're saying, the opinions are very unfair to law enforcement. They're very unfair to our military.
Tired of your old frying pan? Well, stay tuned to get a free state-of-the-art frying pan from Gotham Steel. Yes, you heard us right. Free!
Hi, Chef Daniel Green here with Gotham Steel, the newest technology in non-stick cookware made with ceramic and super strong titanium. Stronger than ever before. It's literally like cooking on air. Everything slides right off. This pan makes cooking so easy. Check out this s'mores recipe. Start with chocolate chips, add sweetened condensed milk, marshmallows, and then bake. That's right, use Gotham Steel in the oven to up to 500 degrees. And then look, it slides right out. Delicious. And it's dishwasher safe. Watch, you'd never whisk eggs in a non-stick pan, right? Well, you can with my pan. Use metal and never make a scratch ever. No oil or butter, absolutely no sticking and no scratches. It's amazing. Look, burnt cheese is a frying pan disaster. Not with my pan. Shredded Parmesan, right on the heat. And here's a secret. Shape a bowl for a unique way to serve party dips. Even fire won't damage Gotham Steel. Make steak fajita flambe with ease. No burnt stuck on mess. Just a clean pan and flawless food every time.
We want all of America to try this revolutionary new pan. So here's an insane deal from Gotham Steel. Get your 9.5-inch Gotham Steel pan with new titanium ceramic surface for just $19.99. But wait, call now, and through this special TV offer, you can get a second Gotham Steel Ti-Cerama pan free. Plus get your shipping absolutely free. And we're so sure it'll never stick and never scratch that we're giving you a huge 90-day money-back guarantee. Call now to get your Gotham Steel pan for $19.99 and a second pan free. Plus get your shipping absolutely free. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-853-5006. Again, that's 1-800-853-5006 or order online at freegothampan.com. 1-800-853-5006.
Sunday, Smart Insight on what matters to America. First, Candace Owens and Teslin Figaro join Steve on The Next Revolution. Then, George Gilder is on a must-see Life, Liberty, and Levin.
I'm young. I'm not supposed to have high blood pressure.
If you just learned you have high blood pressure, or you're already treating it with medication, you can benefit from adding the Zona Plus to your treatment plan.
Medication is not the answer all the time for treatment of blood pressure.
The Zona Plus therapy is safe and easy to do, at home or on the go. Do it while you're watching TV, during breakfast, relaxing, even before a workout.
Every once in a while I remind him, are you doing your Zona? And he'll say, yep. Every day.
In studies, 90% of people lowered their blood pressure from 10 to 15 points in as few as 4 to 8 weeks. And with the company's fantastic 90-day money-back guarantee, backed by a full refund of the purchase price, there's no risk. You have everything to gain by giving Zona Plus a try for 90 days. Call now at 800-311-6730 or visit us online at zonaplus.com.
Welcome back to the special edition of the Ingram Angle as we look at the president's conflict and continuity in the final weeks of 2018. And he is not backing down in his war of words with Supreme Court Chief Justice Roberts and escalating the feud with the liberal Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which just ruled against his administration's asylum policy. Watch.
We get a lot of bad court decisions from the Ninth Circuit, which has become a big thorn in our side, but it's a terrible thing when judges take over your protective services, when they tell you how to protect your border. It's a disgrace.
Does President Trump's dispute with Roberts and the Ninth Circuit show any signs of resolution, or is this just the beginning? White House correspondent Kevin Corke takes us through the last 48 hours from Palm Beach, where he's covering the president's Thanksgiving vacation. Kevin?
Raymond, good evening. This back and forth stems from the president's comments about Judge John Tiger's nationwide injunction to effectively stop the Trump administration's new asylum policies. And you and I have talked about this on a number of occasions, where you have this lower level judge at the federal level and an Obama appointee making a ruling to thwart the Trump administration, forcing it to go through the courts before that policy takes effect. Now, the president called this judge an Obama judge. which is why the Chief Justice weighed in. He said, we do not have Obama judges or Trump judges, Bush judges or Clinton judges. What we have is an extraordinary group of dedicated judges doing their level best to do equal right to those appearing before them. That independent judiciary is something we should all be thankful for. However, given the Ninth Circuit's well-earned reputation for being, let's just say it, progressive, and for frequently ruling against the president and his policies, well, he said it's high time someone called them out for their judicial activism.
We're getting some terrible decisions from the Ninth Circuit, as usual. I don't know if we've ever had a victory in the Ninth Circuit. We have to appeal it. I guess a vast number of their decisions get overturned, generally speaking. And it's a shame. It's a shame. It's a disgrace, frankly. And essentially, they're legislating. And it's not right, and it's been going on like that for a long time. We have to use some common sense. This Ninth Circuit, everybody knows it. It's totally out of control.
Meanwhile, online, Chuck Grassley said this. He said Chief Justice Roberts rebuked Trump for a comment he made about a judge's decision on asylum. I don't recall the chief attacking Obama when that president rebuked Justice Alito during a State of the Union. Clearly a snapshot, my friend, of the intensity of this debate, especially as it involves both this administration and the Ninth Circuit. Raymond?
Thank you, Kevin. Joining me now are three legal experts: former U.S. Attorney Joe diGenova, former federal prosecutor David Katz, and criminal defense attorney Jonah Spilborn. Thank you all for being here. Joe, I want to start with you. Your reaction to Chief Justice Roberts scolding the president and insisting that there are no partisan judges, Joe.
Well, I think the Chief Justice's comments were blatantly inappropriate. He injected himself into a political discussion about the effect of the court. He never should have done that, particularly after the debacle of the Kavanaugh hearing, where everyone was trying to do its best after that to remove the Supreme Court from the political arena. And the Chief Justice arrogantly, and I underscore arrogantly, stepped into it. It was a major mistake by the Chief Justice. And of course, you notice he's been quiet now because he realizes that he did make a terrible mistake. Whatever he may have thought of the president's remarks, it's not his responsibility to rebuke the president of the United States, which is exactly what he was doing. And after sitting there in January of 2010 and listening to President Obama rebuke him and the rest of the Supreme Court for their decision in Citizens United, when he said absolutely nothing to defend the integrity and independence of the court, for him to get involved in this was absolutely abysmal judgment.
Joe, I want to show people that moment. You referenced it, Senator Grassley as well. I want to take everybody back. This is 2010, when then President Obama publicly called out the Supreme Court's Citizens United ruling and wrongly stated a few facts. Watch.
With all due deference to separation of powers, last week, the Supreme Court reversed a century of law that I believe will open the floodgates for special interests, including foreign corporations, to spend without limit in our elections.
Alito was sitting there going, no, 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 mouthing no. Why do you think he said nothing then, Joe diGenova, and he's speaking out now? Why this moment?
It was very, very simple. President Obama was a Democrat, and President Trump is a Republican. John Roberts' judgment in this is so abysmal, so bad, so apparently political in its motivation, so opportunistic. It really is appalling. I'm embarrassed for the court. I feel very sorry for the other members of the court. And I really think the Chief Justice has made a major, major mistake with regard to about he himself now has undercut the independence of the court by becoming involved in a political discussion. It's a very sad day for the court.
Thank you, Joe. John, I want your reaction. Do you agree with Joe diGenova? Do you think that this is raising the political temperature rather than lowering it?
100%. And I want to know, first of all, the Chief Justice is talking out of school because, yes, we do have Obama judges and Clinton judges and Trump judges. But where was the Chief Justice when Ruth Bader Ginsburg was calling the president a a fake, a phony, and openly criticizing him. Where was the rhetoric then? It did not exist.
David, your thoughts?
Well, Chief Justice Roberts is one of the most admired public servants in America, and that's regardless of party. Someone had to come to the defense of the judiciary. We have an independent judiciary, which is the crown jewel of our rule of law and our system in this country.
This is not the first time a president has called out the Supreme Court. Jefferson, Madison were upset with their appointees. FDR was going to pack the courts. What's different this time? With the president disagreeing with the justices? I guess the justice is speaking back.
Well, I guess President Lincoln actually increased the court to 10. They don't call that court packing, but President Lincoln increased the Supreme Court to 10. So it's come and it's gone. But I think the important thing to remember here is that that judge in San Francisco cannot speak up for himself or his decisions. Someone had to speak up for the third branch of government, the independent judiciary. And that's what Chief Justice Roberts did. He did it very well, and he wasn't arrogant at all.
John, I want to put something up on the screen. Chuck Schumer came out today with a tweet. He's supporting, surprise, surprise, he's supporting John Roberts. He writes, I don't agree very often with Chief Justice Roberts, especially his partisan decisions, which seem highly political on Citizens United, Janice and Shelby. But I am thankful today that he almost alone among Republicans stood up to President Trump for an independent judiciary. Is that what his role is? To stand up to the president?
No, absolutely not. And if we're going to have an independent judiciary, if we're going to be one big, happy, non-political family, then the Chief Justice should not have said a word. He almost contradicted himself by the fact that he said what he said.
David, you really don't think we have activist judges anywhere?
You know, I'm a defense attorney now. I go into court.
You work for the Reagan administration.
Right.
You don't think there are any activist judges. Look, just the other day, I pulled this. Judge Carlton Reeves struck down the 15-day abortion ban in Mississippi. He overruled the entire legislature there, the entire state's will, and he said men were all involved in this. Well, who created Roe v. Wade? 9 guys, right?
We have an appeals system in this country. If you don't like the district court or the trial court's decision, you go to the Court of Appeals. You know what else? This decision wasn't even from the Ninth Circuit. It was from a district court judge. It hasn't even been to the Ninth Circuit. The Ninth Circuit can be a very mixed bag. Not all the decisions are the cookie cutter type.
Should it be broken up? Trump wants to break it up.
No, it should not be.
I think it would be a great idea because this is travel ban deja vu all over again. Trump is going to succeed when this goes on up.
Very good. What a panel. Thank you both for being here. And thank you, Joe DeGeneva, for your insights. Up next, President Trump says he'll do whatever it takes to get his border wall built, even if it means shutting down the government. And remember when Michael Moore said people needed to literally put their bodies on the line to stop the president? I know it's hard to believe, but now he's hit a new low. We'll explain next. Stay there.